Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to have a conversation today with Miss Thelma Jones, the incomparable Thelma Jones. She is about to have a new release, first release ever anywhere in the world of two recordings she has done. Love That Man and Moving in the Right Direction. And it's even more wonderful for me that they're on Soul City Records, which is the label that I started with Dave Godin and Robert Blackmore originally back in 1968. One of our first releases back then was also a recording by Thelma Jones, The House that Jack Built. And here we are all these years later, reuniting with Thelma for this brand new release. So welcome, Thelma.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm doing very, very well.
Well, I'm sure people are going to want to know how this whole new recording came about. Share with us a little bit about the whole process that led to this release on Soul City.
Well, it was actually the producer of this record and the writer is Mr. James Holvay. And we were doing some music projects together, and he was interested in putting together a promo or a theme song for President Obama at the time for his second re-election campaign. And he came up with this song, Moving in the Right Direction, and Love That Man, which will be the A-side. And that's how we decided to do it.
Did you have any plans for it being released at that time when it was recorded?
At that time, we did not. He was going to present it to the Obama campaign managers, and I don't know that he ever had the opportunity to do that, but then he was, at some point, planning to release Love That Man, but it just never happened until now.
And we can tell the story. I don't mind us telling the story about how this came about because, in the interest of transparency for everyone who will be listening to this, I have known Thelma personally as a dear friend for quite a few decades. And I think how I recall that one of the people at Charly Records was working with the gentleman you mentioned, James Holvay, and had this track. And he wasn't 100% sure who it was. This is the person at Charly Records. And he asked me to listen to it. And I said, well, I'm not sure. And he said, I think it's Thelma Jones. And then as you recall, Thelma, I believe I either played, did I play you on the phone? I think that's how I did it.
You did. I had actually forgotten that we did that session. And I heard it, and I said, oh, well, I'm not sure. Are you sure that's me? It was quite comical. Because you said, yes, Miss Thelma. I know your voice. I know the inflections, the way you phrase, that is you. And after I listened to it, I went, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember recording this with James Holvay.
Yes. And at that point, we had not heard Moving in the Right Direction. We only heard that one song, Love That Man.
Yes.
And I remember what I did actually when I heard it, and I didn't know anything about James Holvay, or I just, as a guy told me about this track. And I went online trying to think, well, has this been something that Thelma did and I didn't know about? And I couldn't find it anywhere because, of course, it hadn't been released. And so then, as you know, how it's all turned out, Charly Records, working with Soul City label, has been able to work it out to have it released. And I've got to tell you, from my perspective, it sounds absolutely brilliant. And it has that kind of, to me, it has that kind of almost like a Chicago soul sound to it.
Yes.
So tell me about what you remember about the session. I mean, anything you want to say about the actual recording of it?
Well, it's very interesting that you mentioned that it has the Chicago soul sound, because that's where James is from, Chicago, and that is his musical background. Of course, R&B music, but he especially loved Curtis Mayfield, but he really, really loved that sound that is specific to Chicago. What I remember about the session was that I loved it was an easygoing feeling in the studio, no pressure or it was just easy. I actually enjoyed, which I can hear that through the listening to the song afterwards. I really enjoyed doing the session.
I have to tell you that I personally was a little torn between which I thought should be the A or B side, because Moving in the Right Direction is as much a great recording as Love That Man. But do you want to say a little bit about Moving in the Right Direction? Because, you know, it seems kind of topical as also given what's going on in the world. And I particularly noted that there's certain flavor of it that would be reminiscent a little bit of Mavis Staples, I would say, as any reference towards the end of the recording.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It is really interesting, the times we're living in, and the message in the song that he was offering to the Obama campaign at the time. And it is reminiscent a little of Mavis.
I know it's been a while since you had a new record out, Thelma. So we want to catch people up a little bit about what you've been up to. I do recall specifically that you've had a couple of times coming to Europe, which has been quite amazing, because I think both or three occasions that you have been over on this side of the pond, as they used to say. One was in Nottingham, was very much a Northern Soul event. And I think it's okay to tell people that, when we were there, it was really interesting how much those recordings that you made all the way back in the years, in the 60s, still resonate with that particular audience. Songs like Stronger. I just want to share with us a little bit about when that happened. What was your reaction to it?
I was just really overwhelmed and amazed and so appreciative, because that the fan base was still there and remembered the songs and was singing along with me. It was just wonderful.
And then, of course, you and I got together again in Italy at Porretta, which is also very memorable to me, because I recall that you treated us on a Sunday morning at a local church with an incredible rendition of Take My Hand, Precious Lord, which I know is very much a part of your gospel roots. So I want to say a little bit about that too, because I think that's also, for people who haven't heard from you for a while, let's give them some idea of your story, in as much as it began in the world of gospel. So you singing that song was very fitting, I think, on that occasion.
That's my roots, my base. That's what I started out singing. The music was, of course, gospel. I think I remember the first time I ever sung a song in public was in the church. I was about 5 years old. Wow. And my aunt bribed me into singing, because she's a very devout Christian, and she said she came to visit and she heard me singing every blues song that was popular at the time. And she said to me, "Well, do you know any songs about Jesus?" I remember that vividly. And I said, "No, ma'am." She says, "Well, if I teach you a song about Jesus and I make you a very pretty little dress, will you sing it at church?" I went, "Oh, yeah, being a little Taurian baby, I wanted that pretty dress." So I said, "Oh, yes, ma'am." And she taught me this song, "I'll Fly Away." And I ended up singing it in church for the first time. And the response was so overwhelming. I ended up, becoming a member of the choir and singing gospel music for quite a long time.
Well, what's amazing is that you said you were 5?
5. 4 or 5. I was very little.
Yeah. I mean, do you have to stand on a little stool or something?
Well, that's interesting. The acoustics in the churches in those days, you really didn't need a microphone.
Wow.
And so they let me stand on the little platform just below the pulpit, so everybody could see the little person that was singing. It was almost frightening to a certain degree, because the people reacted so emotional. They were so emotional, and everybody wanted to grab you and squeeze you, and they were shouting, "Praise the Lord." That was kind of scary to me. But I wanted that little dress, and I got it.
So your aunt did come through with the dress, right?
Oh yes, it was pretty. She was an excellent seamstress.